Wealth is something that many capsuleers aspire to. Many dream of having billions of ISK at a moment's notice, or not having to worry about drug prices, subbing accounts, or ship losses. But why do many veterans, or even EVE trillionaires, not adequately teach new players how to build their own stockpiles of ISK? Over my years of teaching new bros, this inadequacy has always seemed to be the bottleneck for them, second only to the skilling queue. Today, I will try and teach methods to building ISK, and hopefully give you the key to unlocking a new playstyle within New Eden. So grab a seat in Rhett's Archive Cafe, grab your drink of choice, and let's take a dive into the economical driver of EVE, ISK. Fun per hour is often thrown around the EVE sphere, and I take it to heart. If one cannot enjoy what they are doing in a game, why should they spend time or money playing it? I'm also sure you've heard of another saying: if you love what you're doing, it never feels like work. Well, first, that saying is bullshit. Work is work, even if you love the field. Second, we can actually use this well in video games, and most importantly, MMOs like EVE. We have the benefit of it being a game, so we can stop whenever we want, and we can control what we're doing and when we're doing it. If something starts to feel like work or an obligation, rethink it if you're not enjoying it. Now, with that said, how can we use loving what we're doing as a way to build wealth? If we purely enjoy the process and the gameplay loop that we're doing within EVE, the wealth will accumulate itself. There's no get-rich-quick schemes, no do this to make billions now, or some secret way around the skilling queue. I wholeheartedly believe that once you start enjoying the game as a game, you will be able to accumulate any wealth that you can imagine, and while still enjoying EVE as a game, not a second job. One thing I've found success in is keeping my ISK making pool diverse. Being able to do many activities semi-optimally is an amazing thing. Once you find something too grindy, or the joy of the activity wears off, you can quickly pivot your activities without losing your fun in the game, and while making similar, if not the same amount of ISK. For example, Chlorokin, a well-known EVE YouTuber, and a gas huffer extraordinaire, has accumulated untold amounts of wealth, just from enjoying what he does in-game, gas huffing. But Chlorokin's ways are grindy, and may not be enjoyable for some. So how do we take his concept and make it a little bit more casual? Well, we can do that through loving an activity and finding something that pays well enough that we can spend a couple of hours playing and still end up making a good amount of ISK. I have seen many new players quit due to the insurmountable giant the lack of skill is. Feeling like you can't do anything that courtmates, friends, or content creators are doing is crushing. I've been there and I completely understand the feeling. However, I think there's a simple solution to this. Bigger is not better, and efficiency is not everything. Many players in EVE are constantly trying to push the next percent of efficiency into everything. But why? What's the point? Why do we make complicated schemes with high skill point requirements? Because that's our fun at higher skill points. However, as a new player, you can do things suboptimally, as long as you're enjoying it. Go have fun with it. Who cares if it's bare minimum to do it? If it works, you can focus on having fun. And you can train skills in the background to make it more optimal or do other activities. I see many new players get wrapped up within the skill queue, either with spending real money or spending their earned ISK on injectors. Trust me when I tell you it's not the way to build wealth. All it does is progress the things you can do, but it leaves you with no ISK to actually go do those things. I recommend to set a skilling goal and then stick to that goal. It's okay to add or subtract from these goals, but once you set a goal, just forget about your queue. Don't touch it unless you need to, and it'll save you a lot of headaches down the line. How does one find the activity they love? Well, try things that interest you until you find it. It took me about a year to find the things that I really love doing in EVE, but don't let that discourage you. You can do super introductory things in each activity as a brand new player with minimal training times, just to test the waters of each activity. There are a plentiful amount of starting guides on basically anything orthodox that you might want to do within EVE Online. This isn't a guide about activities, so that's about all I have to say on that front. Just try things until something comes up that you really, really enjoy. Once you start having an inflow of ISK from an activity, there are a lot of things you can realistically do with it. However, within the context of building wealth, I like to put things into 3 categories: saving, reinvesting, and destruction. Let's start with saving. This is pretty self-explanatory. You're saving ISK in your wallet, an alt wallet or a corporate wallet to use for emergencies, or just to save it up. Some people like having ISK buffers so they can replace things very quickly. My recommendation is to keep enough in your savings to replace whatever ships or things you're using to make ISK. Industry is an odd duck, as you don't really want too much liquid ISK sitting around. You can make your own saving scheme though, and I encourage you to make one that suits you as an individual. Our second category is reinvesting. This can be anything from market play, long-term item holds, and buying Plex or extractors with ISK. Anything that is making you ISK on some investment fits within this category. This is often a supplement to people's main way of making ISK. Semi-passive ISK in some regard. I think this is a lot of value, and is often underutilized by the majority of EVE players. Another thing about reinvesting. Holding on to items that you spend your time gathering can also be placed in this category, as you can play market games with these sort of things very often. PI also fits snugly within this category, as you're investing in skills and infrastructure to make money, and it's relatively passive for most people. Our third and last category is destruction. This is anything where you're spending the ISK on a consumable, or a ship that is written off is willing to get destroyed. This includes PvP, skill injectors, drugs, implants, exotic dancers, etc. These things are counteracting us building wealth. However, you can keep these things cheap and still have fun. But if you're into bling, then you'll have to be okay with losing that ISK. And this is not to discount doing these things. PvP is fun, and drugs and implants are often integral to PvP as well. However, it's always good to manage the spending in a healthy and realistic way. Plexing is an odd thing within our goal of building wealth. as for many, Omega is a huge part of their gameplay. But it also introduces monetary burden, or a massive expense for new players. To afford Omega every month, presuming you're going by a month-to-month basis, which is less than ideal, but where most people start, you'll need to generate 80 to 100 million ISK per day, which once you start getting more skills and experience making ISK, it'll be a breeze for you to complete. But what should we do with this living by paycheck to paycheck system? What I recommend doing is, once you've established your way of plexing, start saving money to buy when plex prices are low or on sale. Same thing goes for extractors. This way you can build up a savings pile of items that can increase in value. Another tip is to buy in bulk. You'll end up saving a lot of ISK by buying the longer Omega time packs once you can afford it. Now that we have the big tenets of this philosophy covered, let's get into some application of it. Your first step will just be playing the game. Seriously, that's it. Find anything that you enjoy. Scamming, exploration, ratting, industry, mining, etc. Just go out and do it. Learn the mechanics, make mistakes, and just have fun and make ISK on the way. And the easier you can make it to do, the better. Log off in your ISK making ship, have jump clones in places you need them, and honestly this list can go on forever. But just have fun with it. EVE should not be a horrible grind for ISK. It's a game, and once you start treating it as such, you'll end up a lot happier.